Hey, everybody, it's your main man, Anthony Brogdon on the 1 and 2s, and I got a link to the UK district, United Kingdom, London, England, on the show today, and I am super excited. Let me tell you, I didn't say a little excited. I said super excited that she has come on because she got some stuff that she gonna share with you that's gonna blow your mind. We don't play here at Strong Inspiration. We will not play with you. We're going to give it to you straight, no chaser. I'm going to put a little lime in it, but I'm going to intoxicate your mind through the guest and let them tell the story. I just try to come up with some, let's say, intelligent questions, everybody. Don't play with you, man. There's a good-looking lady over here. We're going to get it. We're going to get it on.
Excuse me.
So do this, my friends. Hit the subscribe button on Strong Inspirations. It's free. It don't cost no information. It don't ask no. It don't cost no information. It don't ask no information, and it don't cost no money. This is my. Let's call it this. My ministry to y'all. It has become that in my world. Little old me just have become a bigger little old me. How about that, my friends? Because I come from all over the world, and I find the people like this lady today. She's passionate about what she does. She's an expert. And here she is on Strong Inspirations, my friends. And so like I said, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button on this video, because there is no love button, and I know you would love it. Hit the notifications bell for when the videos come up. You get a ding, you get a shock. The lights in your house flicker on and off. Your kids come up and give you a hug saying, hey, there's something that we need to watch. Y'all in them classrooms across the world, watch this. You can move the cursor where you want to, where you get what you want to get for your time period. We don't curse on the show, so it's suitable for all ages. How about that, my friends?
No cursing.
And then the people who do the talking, they know what they're talking about. So do that, and then tell somebody about Strong Inspiration. Don't keep it to yourself. That's not right. Don't do that. Tell somebody. Share the link. Let's let this thing grow. It's February 1st, where Black History Month begins in America, but I do this all the time. I want y'all to hear this in June, July, August, September, October, November, December, April, May, January. Come on. And so did you get in keeping with the lady that's on the show now, did you watch the one I did with the guy out of London, England, he's an activist, and he tweets about what the injustices are in his country? Watch that video. Did you see the one I did with the person out of London, England, who well, they were in London, but now they've moved outside in the suburb in a white area, and they out there using Black history books and activities and stuff like that. And what was so kind of amazing about it is the sister heard about Black Wall Street in America, and that's what she calls her business. Black Wall Street, London. Watch that video. Did you see the one I did with the guy out of Africa? Out of Africa, who talks about what it was like living under apartheid? Watch that video. Did you see the one I did with the lady out of Australia? We thought, at least a lot of us did. I did. I thought Australia was all white, but no, my brothers and our sisters, them brothers and sisters of African descent got there first. And then them other people came. Watch that video. I do it from all over the world. Oh, I got one more for you out of her area. There's a lady that was born in London, England, real smart sister, right? So she goes and does an exchange program They brought her to America, to one of the ruralest towns in Mississippi. She talking with that dialect in Mississippi, America. And the people were looking at her like, what's your problem? Where you come from? What you doing here? The sister got so tight with all of them that she stayed in America, got her PhD, and wrote a book about her experience coming from the UK to America. Y'all got to watch that video. I'm not playing with you. I'm going to give it to you from now on. And you're going to really like this one. This is what she does for a living. She teaches that history out of her town. She takes you on tours and things of that sort. She shows you spots that you didn't know, for the most part. And she does it eloquently too, I'm sure. She does it with a smile. She makes you understand that stuff. Couple more things, my friend, if you may know, and you can get this and watch it in London. It's streaming on Amazon, a movie I did. It's called Business in the Black. Go to Amazon, UK, Business in the Black. You can watch it there. It's about America and the rise of Black business here in my country. Slaves who own businesses, enslaved. We start there. And we talk about how they got an education and all that good stuff. It's 75 minutes long. You will not go to sleep on this. No, my brothers and my sisters from around the world who are watching me. In the UK, you can do that on Amazon. It's Business in the Black, and in digital format in the UK, you can read my book. Oh, I'm serious. Here it is. Black business book. Same thing as the movie, but more thorough, more facts. Now, let me tell you, and I don't mean, I'll be perfectly honest with you, and that's how I do. I'm a straight shooter. I don't read big books for the most part, you know, because I have a lot going on and whatnot. This book ain't big. I don't add no commentary. I just give you the fact. And then if you want to learn more, I give you the reference section where I found the fact. But there were some brothers and sisters back during slavery that was jamming. You can't hold us back. We're going to fight through them systems. We're going to figure out a way, always have and always will. And then we rise to the top. Check it out. Go, it's on Amazon in the UK. And if you in America want to get a copy, it's only available on my website, which is businessintheblack.net. You go to my website, you see all that I'm doing. I got a lot going on. And I really, I'm gonna try to make it to the UK for Black History Month this year.
October.
Yeah, in October. I'm gonna try to make it. I got enough people over there that might, you know, we're gonna work something out. I want to get there. So now y'all hear me use this term strong a lot. Strong is my favorite word. I wish my middle name was strong. Just like the word strong. I try to be a strong guy. Think strongly, act strongly, do strong stuff like this show. And in my world, strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to my guest today. She's a strong sister. Come on, introduce yourself. Thank you for being on Strong Inspirations.
Hello, Anthony. How are you?
I'm well.
Yeah, my name is Avril Nanton, and I run a business called, would you believe it? I've got a complete blank on my own business. I run a business called Avril's Walks and Talks. And what we do, or what I do, is I'm a tour guide around London. I take people all over London to show them the Black history of London, places that people who have lived in London for years have never even seen before, didn't know anything about, walked past, you know, they've worked in the area for millennia and they've never ever noticed the Black history right in front of their eyes.
Oh my God. Thank you for coming on the show. And before we're gonna delve into that deeply. But I got to do this with you, if you don't mind. I got to ask a couple questions about yourself so the guests get to know you. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in a country called Dominica, not Dominican Republic, just Dominica. It's a separate island.
And where is that at? Where in the
Caribbean?
In the Caribbean.
Yep.
And who was the rulers of it? Was it under some
It's
European rule at
English.
some point?
It's the British. It's the British.
The
Uh,
British?
yeah, they speak what we call patois. So they have a mixture because it's been owned by the French, the Spanish, the British. And so the language, the second language, the first language is English. The second language is what we call patois. So it's what everybody on the island speaks. I don't speak it, but everybody on the island speaks it to each other. It's a sort of cross between French, English, and Spanish.
Did you grow up in a black neighborhood, that type thing, or what's the environment neighborhood type? You know.
What, in Dominica or
Yes, 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 yes.
No, Dominica is a black country, so
Okay, so
everybody's
it's all black. Okay.
yeah, everybody's black. It's next door to Guadeloupe, St. Lucia, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados. It's all around those sort of parts of the world.
Did they what it being all black? Did you see white people?
Well, as I was only 7 when I left, I don't remember.
Really?
Yeah, I was very young.
So what happened to the white people that dominated? They all left?
I have no idea. I would imagine they did. I really don't have much of a memory of Dominica because I left there so young.
Okay.
And I arrived in England in 1965.
Oh,
You know?
okay.
And
Okay.
so most of my memory is more of England than of a Dominica.
Okay. Just another Dominica. How did your folks get there? Do you know some about your great grandfathers and that kind of thing?
Slavery. How else?
Oh, slavery. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
slavery. Everybody in the Caribbean has been brought there by the same route, other than the people who were there originally.
Okay. One more on that. What was the crop of Dominica that they needed the slaves for? Was it a crop or just for indigenous type stuff? Do you know?
I don't know what their crop was. You know, I'm really bad because I'm a person who lives in London and I don't know my history about my own country as much as I should, which is telling.
Okay. Okay.
I should, but I have got lots of books to read, and one of them is, well, quite a few of them is about Dominica. And I've actually met, now there's a guy in Dominica who's like the historian of the island, and his name is Lennox Honeychurch. And I met him the last time I went to Dominica. I had a meeting with him because I sent him an email saying, I'm coming to Dominica and I'm doing some research about my family. And I wondered if you could help me. And so I met up with him and he said to me, have you got my latest book? And I said, yes. And he said, well, open it up. And I brought it with me. And he said, there's your father. And there was a group of people, you know, just I think they're on strike or something or whatever. There was just a picture of a group of people, lots and lots and lots of people. And he pointed out my dad to me. And I was like, wow. But didn't even know, you know, that my dad was in the picture. I was like, wow.
Oh, okay. Let's go into this then. So they left there and moved to the UK.
Right. So no,
was that what? Okay,
no. My mother left Dominica and she came to England. Yeah. And then she, when she left Dominica, she already had 3 children. Yeah. And so we all had different fathers. My oldest brother, his father had already passed away. And then there was my next brother down. His father was still around and my father was still around. She left me with my grandmother. I don't know what happened to the other children, but they probably went to their grandmothers as well. And then she came to England with her friends. She then saved up some money to pay for the passage. And then she brought over my brother in 1964. And then I came in 1965. And then whilst we were here, my mother had 2 other children. So we've got 2 other brothers and sisters over here. So there are 5 children in the family. However, in Dominica, my father has a daughter with somebody else. So I have an extra sister.
Sure. Let me ask you, when she brought you over here, did you fly or did you take a boat?
I flew on the I flew on the BOAC, which became British Airways.
Oh, okay. Let me. So, and then when y'all moved to London, did you live in a black neighborhood, white neighborhood? What was it like where you grew up?
We lived initially in Hackney, And just to say, my mother came by boat, but my mother lived in Hackney, and when I came over, we were living basically in one room in Hackney, which is a borough of London. And then we eventually moved to the next borough, which is next door, called Islington, and it's on the border. So you've got a line that's really, really thin. We were literally on that line. So we kind of lived in both borders, Islington and Hackney. And I went to school in Hackney, brought up in Islington, and I went to school as a child in Hackney, and my secondary school, because we have primary school, which is the what is it? I think it's 7 till 10 or something. I can never remember ages of primary schools.
Okay.
And then from 11 onwards, you go into secondary school. And we didn't have, nowadays we have year 1, year 7, nowadays a bit very much like the American system.
Oh, okay.
When I was younger, we didn't have it like that. We had, if you went into secondary school, it was called first year.
Oh, okay.
So first year was you were 11.
Okay. In the neighborhood that you grew up in, is that a black town? Is that what is there white people that live there? What's the dynamic?
I mean, London is a very mixed city. We don't have, it's not like America where it's all black and it's all white. We have a very mixed town of London. So you'll very rarely get areas that's totally black and areas that's totally white. But you will get some areas where there's a lot more black people and a lot more white people. So areas like that. So Hackney was quite a strong black area. A lot of black people live in there. And when I moved to Islington, it's the opposite. It was more of a white area and, less black people living there.
Yeah.
So we kind of mixed. We had friends. We had a lot of Turkish friends, Italian friends, white friends, black friends, because the street that we lived in was a very long street with a lot of children from families from all over the world.
Oh, when did growing up in that type of environment, when do you face racism? When do you hear that there's racism, that black people are such and white people? When does that happen for you? At what age or whatever?
I didn't know anything about racism as a youngster. It didn't occur to me. I didn't understand it. I never thought about it as a child. I first noticed it when I went to secondary school, which is when you're in year 1, year 2, year 3. And in my primary school as a child, I don't remember it being an issue. However, my friends were all black in the school, so maybe that's why.
Yeah.
So it could be that because all my friends were black, it was.
What happened in secondary school where you did notice it?
Well, it was a lot more mixed, and our school was a predominantly black school, but there was a lot of white people in the school. So you ended up mixing with everybody. And I think that was the first time I can even remember any sort of racism at all, if anything. I mean, even then it was, because the school was predominantly black, it was hard for the white people to really have too much racism going on, because they would have got beat up and licked down.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Well, given that, but what is racism like there though? Then what is I that's what I'm trying to get at. Do white people think they're better than black people?
Of course they do. Yeah, that's the same all over the world.
Yeah, sure.
Black people have the same problems in England as Americans do. We have the same issues, same, you can't do this, you can't, not you can't, it's not an official, it's not written, it's not Jim Crow, it's not written into the laws. We had in the 60s and 70s in particular, or probably 50s, 60s, 70s, we had something called the color bar. Where you couldn't get a job simply because you were black. You couldn't get housing simply because you were black. You had supposedly people who had notices in the window where they would have vacancies, and then when you knocked on the door, the vacancy was gone. Suddenly it gone, and there'd be no dogs, no blacks, no Irish in the windows.
That's what I heard. I heard that
kind of thing. I never saw it myself as a child because, of course, as I said, I was quite young, and I would have been quite protected from that by my mother. But I know that there are photographs of that sort of thing going on.
Is there somebody there who like a Dr. King here in America who fought against that, who is your patriot to say, okay, we gotta uprise, we gotta march? Did y'all march to make changes, or what happened?
There was a guy called Paul Robinson, who I'm trying to think what year it was. In the 1960s, he set up a bus boycott. Yeah, we had a bus boycott, same as you did in America.
Okay.
Where people marched and said they weren't using the buses because they wouldn't take Black people or Asian people. And in Asia, when we say Asian in England, we tend to be meaning Indians and Pakistanis and Bangladeshis, whereas you guys, when you say Asians, you tend to be talking about Japanese, Chinese.
Yeah, right.
So when we say Asians over here, they're more brown skinned, akin to us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and also you're looking then as well at the Commonwealth. But in those days they wouldn't take on Black people on the buses. This is out of London, by the way, and effectively these people put together a march and a demonstration. They boycotted the buses, and it was agreed that after all the marching and the demonstrating that was going on and the boycotting, the bus company relented and decided that they would take on Black people and Asian people.
Is this what, as we in America call our civil rights era? Is that maybe a similar term, or is there another term?
Yeah. We had civil rights. We had a lot of civil rights going on over here. We had a guy called Michael X. Just like Malcolm X, we had our Michael X.
Okay.
Similar kind of campaigning, but not exactly the same, not as upstanding, shall we say, as your Malcolm X. Our Malcolm X was a little bit dodgy,
okay.
in certain places.
Did any one of those people who were activists and outspoken, did they get murdered? Did any of that type did it get that drastic on their lives?
We don't really have lynching over here. It's not a case of, you guys in America, we know it's a well-known thing that people got lynched.
Yes.
It's not something that happened over here on a regular basis. If it did happen, it would be like a one-off, and it would have been a long time ago. But it's not something that you get here. If somebody demonstrates and start shouting and screaming, if they're Black, then people just sort of either pretend they're not, just don't want to know, or many innocent people have been killed at the hands of the police. It's not an unusual thing over here at all.
Oh, really?
Okay,
can a Black, and I've asked other people out of London, in America, we have Black people who have risen to be top of Fortune 500 companies, head of universities. Can a Black person do that in London?
Yeah, we have Nelson Mandela's wife. She's what's her name? Oh God, I've forgotten her name. Her name's gone out of my head. Nelson Mandela's wife. She's the president of SOAS, which is a university over here, which is part of the University College of London, and also Baroness Amos, a Black woman. So at the top you have the president. Oh God, it's on the tip of my tongue. Nelson Mandela's wife, who obviously he's passed away, but she's the president. And then under her is another Black woman called Baroness Amos, who is again the director of the SOAS. So you can get that. It's a rare thing. We also get priests who are bishops. And a lot of there's in the parliament, you've got some baronesses. You got Baroness Scotland, who's she's from Dominica, funnily enough, and she's a baroness. So that means you're going up in the world a lot.
A baroness, is that a political office, or what is that? That's a political office?
It is, but if you were married to a baron, I suppose you're kind of within the realms of the Queen.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I like that for a second. Then we're gonna get into the tour thing. There are black people who I have been, black women in particular, who have been a part of the monarchy.
The monarchy. Yes, that's
Yes,
right. Queen
yes,
Charlotte. Yep. Queen
yes,
Charlotte. Yep. Of course, Meghan Markle.
yes,
But yeah, I mean, it's not the first time.
yeah. It's not the first time.
Yeah,
Okay,
but we've never actually seen it in our lifetime. That's the difference.
oh, let's stay on this one more thing. Can a black lady become rich in London? Can they have a company that's doing millions? You know, that kind
I'm
of thing.
sure. I don't know any Fortune 500 people, but I'm sure there are plenty of them. There's a guy called Stephen. Oh, again, he does a program on the TV called Dragon's Den, which you have in America.
Okay.
Yeah,
No.
you don't get the same people as us, but the program I understand
Yes.
is where they have to bid to get the money from
Oh yeah,
the
yeah. Right,
yeah.
right.
We call it Dragon's Den over here. And there's a young guy called Stephen. Oh, if only I could remember his name. I'm really bad with names,
Yeah,
but
yeah, sure.
this guy is the newest dragon, and he's like worth millions, and he's only
Oh,
28.
okay,
You know, so you can
okay.
get people who are very well off. It's not as prevalent as we'd like it to be,
Yeah,
but there
sure,
are a
sure,
few. There are a
sure.
few.
You own a business. Is there an association of black business owners there in London?
There are. I don't actually belong to any associations other than guiding associations,
Yes.
but yes, there are some. Uh, in fact, even recently, there's once again, I'm bad on the names. There is a black business organization that you can
Okay,
join, and
okay.
they were doing recently win £10,000 to set up your business or to help your business.
Okay.
Um, but the competition was stiff,
Yeah,
so
sure,
I wouldn't have because I'm a person on my own doing my business. It's just me.
sure.
So to
Yeah,
try and compete with big businesses would have been very difficult.
I got you. So when did you start liking Black history?
Well, when I was younger, as I said, I didn't really understand anything to do with blackness or anything. I just saw me as a person, and I was green as they can be. And then Roots came on the TV, in the
Really?
70s. Yeah, Roots came on the TV in the 70s, and people were amazed. We most people did not know anything before Roots came. The people I knew did not know anything about slavery and stuff like that. And
Really?
when I watched Roots, I was like, wow, I didn't know anything about this. And I was only probably in my early teens, yeah, or mid-teens. And you go to school the next day, and it's like you kind of look at the white people like, so this is what you guys did to us, huh?
Because they
you know,
didn't teach they didn't teach
they
that in
don't
school.
teach that. No. They don't tell
Really?
you anything about it. No. But as time went on, then they decided to teach us Black history, but the only Black history they taught was about slavery. So you end up just knowing about slavery. But Roots taught me a lot more than school ever did, you know. And I ended up leaving school with no qualifications. I mean, I was a complete, thicko, Dumbo, whatever.
Okay.
And I thought, oh my God, I'm going to be stacking shelves for the rest of my life. So I started working in a supermarket stacking shelves. That's how I left school with nothing, you know.
Wow. And
And
so, yeah, go ahead. So you
no, so I
started doing the research.
no, not then. No, no, no. I was still not clever enough to sort of work out that I should start doing research. Then for a long time I was drifting from job to job. And then one day I was working for a housing association. In other words, people who house poor people. And I went past this sign on the door and it said, "Do you know your Black history?" And
Wow.
I looked at the sign and I thought, how dare they? Of course I know my Black history. How dare they? And I walked up the street thinking, my God, that sign's really irritating me. And I walked up the street, but it was in my head. And when I walked back past it, I looked at it and I thought, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to just tell them how dare they put that sign up. So I went in there and I said, what's all this about Black history, blah, blah, you know. And the woman said, oh, well, we've got this guy. He teaches it every whatever day it was, every Tuesday or something. And I said, right, I'm going to join up just so I can tell him what I think of him. You know, it's ridiculous. Of course, I know my history. I'm Black. Honestly, I was so green. It was unbelievable. And so I joined the class more to have a go at this guy because how dare he put up that sign. Of course, I know my history. I'm Black. And he started to tell us that the Egyptians were Black. And I thought, what is this man talking about?
Wow.
What is he on about? What does he mean the Egyptians were Black? Because at school we were taught the Egyptians were white.
Yeah, right, sure.
Yeah, so I'm like, what is he talking about? He's mad. And so then I thought, well, I tried to tell him, but he wasn't listening to me. So I thought, right, I'm going to come back next week. I'm going to just tell him. So the next week I came back and I thought, okay. So I thought a bit more about what he said last week. And then for my sins, I began to realize that maybe I did not know my Black history. And so this was in 1997. I met a guy called Robin Walker, who's written a book called When We Ruled. And Robin Walker became my mentor. He's still my friend today. In fact, I spoke to him just before I came on here.
Yes.
And he started to teach me Black history. I did his class year after year after year after year because I was like, this is just blowing my mind.
Right.
I started to learn things. I'm like, wow, I did not know any of this. And then I realized how stupid I've been. I suddenly thought,
yes,
I've been stupid all this time.
yes. But they did that intentionally, though.
Huh?
They did that intentionally.
Yes, of course. And that's when you realize you don't know anything from school. And Robin started to teach us, and I was making loads and loads of notes, and I was writing down everything. I'd go home, I'd read it all, and then, of course, there was no such thing as computers in those days, as such, not the way they are today. So you'd go to the library, or you'd go wherever you could find it, and I worked at a newspaper as well, so I was able to look back at some of the old newspapers, and I realized that people have known these things for years. It was me that was dumb, not them, you know, and I suddenly thought, oh man, I've got a lot of learning to do.
Okay.
So then I started to attend everything that Robin was doing. Then I found out that there were other people doing it. So I started to go to their classes. And then, of course, when computers started to come into play, you could watch things, films and videos and stuff.
Okay, let me stop you there. Let me stop you there right quick. The question comes, you went to their classes. What were these people doing? They were in their own way trying to educate the populace about Black history because they weren't getting it in school. So they were having it like in some recreation center. Where were they holding these and that kind of thing?
Yeah, Robin in particular would hire a hall or some sort of youth center or somewhere, or a church or anything that you could hold a lot of people. And he used to get a lot of people. And some people, you know, like any other course, people jump on the course and then as time goes on, they sort of dwindle down.
Yeah,
but
sure.
The hardcore people stayed. And that is how I got to know a lot of the people that I know nowadays, because a lot of us attended Robin's classes.
Yes.
And Robin Walker today is now one of the #1 historians in this country.
I love it.
And basically, because of him, I learned so much. And he made me read books that I hadn't read, and I've never heard of these people, and I didn't have a clue who anybody was, you know. And I started having opinions and thoughts, and I'm like, wow,
you know? Yeah. So it found you.
Yeah, basically. I started, you know, becoming a human being, basically. Before that, I was just a sort of robot walking around London.
Okay, hold on. What you saying that, did you call yourself a Black person? What did you call yourself?
Yeah, Black has always been. When I was younger, when I first arrived in England, we were called coloured. And everybody called everybody coloured. That was the name that we were given, and that was the name that I grew up with. And even my mother, up until the day she died in 2014, even she called Black people coloured because that was what she was brought up with. But as I grew more knowledgeable and aware, I should have been saying African, but we then tried African British, and it just didn't drip off the tongue the way African American does. You
Okay.
know, so for a while everyone was saying African, then it became African British, and then after a while we just went back to black, and now most people still say black in this country. A lot of people
Yes.
African. Some people are still saying African British or Afro Caribbean. You know, we've got so many words we can use to describe ourselves.
Okay, let me ask you this one, and I don't pull no punches on the show. Is the term nigger ever something? Do they say that when they trying to
Right.
be derogatory?
I'm so glad you've asked me this question because, as I said, I was speaking to Robbie Walker 5 minutes before I spoke to you today.
Okay, okay.
And I've just been watching You People, which is a Netflix film with Eddie Murphy and various
Yes,
people.
sure.
And it always shocks, I think it shocks the rest of the world because we in the rest of the world do not use the word nigger. We just don't. It's a derogatory term. It's a belittling word.
So
And
white people won't use it to say I'm, to cut at you per se.
only if
Okay.
they're obviously if they're racist, but
Yeah.
general white people, black people don't use it. However, what I've noticed is it's creeping into the youngsters because of hip hop tunes and things. And you've got
Okay.
Grime, you've got some people like Stormzy, they use it, and the youngsters are starting to use it, but it's not something that the rest of the English speaking world uses. The only people who use it are American
Yeah.
people. And I was so upset when I saw Eddie Murphy in this film because I was prepared to enjoy this film, and then he just calls everybody,
Yeah. I
throughout
got
the
you.
whole film.
I got you.
Because I'm a tour guide, I do spend a lot of time with Americans, and I always ask the question, why do Americans call each other nigger? The rest of the world, the rest of the black world, spend all their time fighting against people calling us this. And then you watch Americans and they call each other this. And it's like, how do you explain to these people?
Yeah, I got you.
Not the done thing. This is
Yes.
not the done thing. You don't do that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I
What
can't get through.
what if a white person was to try to call you something and be mean to, what word would he call you?
Well, no, oh yeah, they would use the word nigger. Oh God, yeah. If they're being horrible or cruel or crass or whatever,
Yes.
they would use that word.
Oh, they
But
will use that word. Okay.
not a word that we use a lot in this country.
I
And now
got you.
everyone says the N word.
Yes, yes, yes. Right, right, right. So now you've done all this research on Black history in London. Before you did that, and even now, what was it? Is there a story that sticks out in your mind that when you were doing your early development that really just blew your mind and said, "Wow, that is amazing," that you can share with us?
Well, okay. I think for me, one of the best stories in when I do my tours, and that Robin, mentioned when I was younger, and I thought, oh, I really didn't know this. Guy called Alauda Equiano.
Never
Have
heard
you
of
heard
it.
of it? No.
No, no.
Okay. His parents were kidnapped in their native Africa. We don't know which part, obviously, but probably somewhere in West Africa. And his mother was pregnant with him when they were kidnapped. And she having no choice had to have the baby. But the father, having a choice, decided to kill himself. So he jumped off the ship and committed suicide. And the mother went on to have the baby, but because there are nothing on the ship to look after a woman giving birth, she died. And he was sent to the Caribbean as a baby and brought up for the first 2 years in sort of slave conditions, I suppose, as a child, And then he was brought to England, and he was given as a gift to some women, some sisters in a part of London called Greenwich. And that's where he kind of hung out for the next sort of 10 years or so. And then the Duke of Montagu, him and the Duke of Montagu got on quite well, and he began to work with the Duke of Montagu. And the Duke of Montagu, when he died, left him money. Now he wasn't a slave, as
Okay.
such,
Okay.
but he was given his freedom, even though he wasn't a slave.
Yeah, right, right,
But he
right.
actually was. Yeah.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah. And he was given his freedom and he was given money because they really liked him. And he managed to buy property and a shop in the middle of London, which nowadays would be impossible because it'd be so expensive for one. And
Sure.
the street that he bought the property in, you can't build on that particular street now because it belongs to the government. But this guy went on to do really well for himself. Ignatius Sancho, that's the
Okay,
name I
okay,
meant to say.
okay,
He
okay,
he was the one who was taken. His
okay.
parents were taken, and his sorry about that, not
Yeah,
allowed
that's okay. That's okay.
Allowed Vecchiano is another amazing story, but a slightly different story. But
Sure.
Ignatius, he managed to marry a black woman. Um, Now I say this to people, and I always say to them, "Why do you think I'm telling you this?" And they like, don't know, because there weren't that many black women in London. So most of the men, the black men, would marry white women. So therefore, when I say he married a black woman, that's quite significant.
Uh,
And they had
so, well,
seven.
hold on. Let me stop you there. For you to say there wasn't many women, they wanted the men to come first.
No, the men would be sailors, so they'd be working
Oh,
on
I
ships.
got you. I
So
got
they
you.
would
I
be
got you.
here,
I
whereas
got you.
not a lot of women would be working as sailors.
I
But
got you. I
they
got you.
would find their way here in different ways.
I
But
got you.
because a lot of the men were taken onto ships and things and used as sailors,
I got you.
there were a lot more black men here
Yes.
than were women.
I got
So
you.
yeah, so basically, where was I? Yeah,
He married a black woman.
yeah, he married. They had 7 children, and he was one of the first black men to vote in this country way back in 1774, something like that. Black people did not have the vote as such. Not that we didn't have the vote, but if you were poor, no poor people had the vote. Women didn't have the vote, and poor people didn't have the vote. So the only people who had the vote at that period in time were rich white men because they had property, they had land, they were called gentlemen. So when Ignatius manages to buy property, so he's got the property, and he has a shop, so he's making money. So therefore, he becomes a gentleman. So when the option comes along to vote, the opportunity, he takes it and he votes. So that must have
Okay.
been quite shocking in those days because, of course, nobody expected a black person to vote.
Is he darker complected or not necessarily?
Yeah, there is a picture of him. Right, this is Ignatius.
Oh yeah.
Trying not to let the light.
Yeah, yeah, I see it. Yeah, he's a darker complected guy too.
Yeah, one of the first black men to be painted by a famous Gainsborough was the painter, famous painter. Gainsborough painted lots of rich white people. So for him to paint a black man, it was very
Yeah,
unusual.
sure.
And,
Is
and
there a historical marker near the house or near the building that he owned and that kind of thing?
yes, yes. In this country, we have a company called Nubian Jack Community Trust, and they specialize in putting up plaques to black people.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
Okay.
because they recognize the fact that black people didn't have plaques up by English Heritage. English Heritage are the main people who put up blue plaques in this country. And they would put up blue plaques for all kinds of people, but in the beginning they weren't putting up any blue plaques for black people. So effectively, Nubian Jack or Jack Bueller set up the Nubian Jack Community Trust, and they put up blue plaques. Now, we say blue plaque because the one for Ignatius Sancho is actually white.
Okay.
And the reason it's white is because the house it's on, or the government office that it's on, is made of pure white stone. And they did not want it to be spoilt with a big blue plaque, so they've had to put a white plaque on.
Okay, yeah, that's all right.
It's easily missed though. That was what
Oh, is
gets
that
them.
right?
Yeah, because
Okay.
had it been blue, it would have stood out, and most people
Yeah.
walk past it and don't see it.
Okay.
So Yeah, so basically he they've put one up. So there is a marker there, and it's one of the first places I take people to talk about, Ignatius and his paintings. And he left his sons after he passed away. They found all these letters and they published it into a book, which you can still get today.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So now what's again, give us the name of your tour company.
It's Avril's Walks and Talks, and it's got my name in it because I wanted something that people would associate with me.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
by the time I'd learnt so much with Robin Walker,
Sure.
um, my name had actually become quite familiar to people because as time went by, because I was working with Robin a lot, people would associate my name with his.
I
And
love
then
it.
yeah, and then eventually I kind of became his secretary, PA. So people
Yeah.
would associate me with him. So I
Yes.
thought, when I set up the business, I thought, well, I'll put my name in so that people who already associate me with Robin, and his association is fantastic.
Oh, yeah, sure, sure,
Um,
sure, sure.
I
Now,
will use my name.
what when
I
on
just
your tours, give us a few of the stops that you take people by. You told us
okay.
about that one. What are some of the
Yep,
others?
yep. Well, have you heard of Mary Seacole?
No?
Okay. Mary Seeker. When I do my black statues around Westminster Walk, which was one of my favorites, I take people to see Mary Seacole. Now, the whole thing of the statue of Mary Seacole, just to get the statue was a fight. You know, Mary Seacole was a Jamaican woman who was of mixed race, and she was what they call a doctress. So, in other words, she was a herbal woman. She she tended to people using herbs.
Oh, okay, okay,
So
okay.
she grew up, she learned that from her mother. She grew up learning, teaching, sorry, fixing up people, should we say, using herbs. And when she heard that the British were in a war with the Russians in the Crimea, she decided that she wanted to go and help out because she felt that because she can heal people with herbs and things, she could use that experience
Uh,
and go and help these soldiers. But of course, the British told her no. We don't know if it's because she's black, but we're assuming it was that
yeah,
reason.
sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
And so Mary, being Mary, hired a ship and went out there anyway. She got on a ship and went to the Crimea, and she built herself what they call a hotel, which was like a hospital. And
Really? Oh
yeah,
man.
she would tend to the soldiers who'd been wounded. Um, she would go out every day looking for wounded soldiers because not everybody that was dead was actually dead. So she would then drag them back to her hotel, and her hotel or hospital was very, very close to the fighting. At the same time, you had Florence Nightingale, who had arranged all of this movement of nurses from London to the Crimea, but they were so far away from the fighting that they would get, like, Mary would get the people first, the really bad cases, and the other cases would get to Florence Nightingale, the lady with the,
This is what year is this maybe?
oh gosh,
Eh,
18, what was the year of
Approximate
that?
1850s,
Yeah, 1850s,
something like
1850.
that. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, okay, okay,
1850s.
okay, okay.
And so the war went on for about 3 years. And so Mary was out there the whole time tending to these soldiers and people who were shot or wounded or whatever. She would give them whiskey. If she had to cut their leg off or something, she'd sort of drown them in whiskey so they wouldn't feel the pain, that sort of thing. And
Okay.
she'd cut their leg off. And basically she'd then tend to them afterwards. And so she did that for the whole time of the Crimean War. And then when the war finished, she had no money. She was in debt up to her eyeballs, and she was like, "Oh my God!" But luckily for her, the people who she had been looking after, um, they managed to arrange for a big, well, a fete, I suppose you could call it, fete, FETE, fete,
Uh,
and they managed to raise money for her, so she was able to, clear some of her debt and come back
okay.
to London. And she lived in London for quite a long time, and she would travel between London and the Caribbean, and
Okay.
continue doing her healing and stuff. She died in London in 1888. and she's buried in London.
And so you take them by her what?
Sorry?
When you on your tour, you take them by her what?
Now the statue.
Oh,
Yes,
the
I was going to
statue.
say,
Okay, the statue. Yes.
Now, because she was now, this is very complicated, but Florence Nightingale was the big name that everybody knows. Have you heard of Florence Nightingale?
I've heard of her. I don't know what she did.
No, she was a nurse. She was a
Oh, she was
nurse.
a nurse.
Yes,
Oh, okay,
she was the nurse. She was the white nurse during the Crimea War.
Okay.
And during the Crimea War, Mary Seacole was actually kind of like the better known. She was the more popular because she's the first person that people saw when they were injured.
Oh.
But after Mary died, people forgot Mary's name, and Florence's name sort of came to the fore, and everybody remembered Florence. And Florence got herself a statue at the Crimean. There's a Crimean statue where they've got Florence and lots of soldiers and things, and it's in the middle of not the middle of London, but it's in central London, and everybody goes to see it. So people kept, wondering, well, why is there nothing of Mary? Because Mary was forgotten for years. It wasn't until the sort of 70s, 80s that people started discovering Mary again.
Okay.
And, so people started wondering, well, why is there no statue of Mary Seacole?
Sure.
People started gathering and wondering and thinking, you know what, we need to do something about this.
Yeah,
and
sure.
A group of people got together, started to campaign, started to raise funds, and eventually they got the funds, they got the statue made, but the statue is huge. I mean, it's
is that right? Oh, is it of her or her doing something, or what is the statue?
Well, it's the statue of her marching. She's marching.
Oh, really? I love it.
She's got a huge bag with all her stuff in it, and
I love it.
She's about to go, and but the statue is about 16 feet tall. I mean, it's not life-size at all.
Okay.
So now this was the problem, because of course Florence Nightingale statue is not that big. It's tiny.
Yes.
Mary's is huge.
I got you.
So people were not happy. And then, of course, was the sighting of the statue, because the Florence Nightingale Museum, which is a great museum, is outside St. Thomas's Hospital in West London, in central London. Sure. And so people are saying, well, that's where Florence Nightingale statue should be, because her museum is just there. It's a hospital, so Florence Nightingale should have her statue there. But they said, no, we're going to put Mary's statue there. So Mary's statue is huge, and she's on a plinth, and she's got lighting, and they went to the Crimea.
Really?
Yeah, they went to the Crimea, and they picked up the dirt of the area that she was in, and they mixed it with something, and now they've got a huge backdrop, and it's all made of the dirt from the Crimea.
I love it.
Mary's got this huge round disc behind her, and she's sort of fried it away. And I went there the other day, and unfortunately someone's taken a hammer to not the statue, thankfully, but to the plinth. And they've smashed it. And I thought, oh dear. But so Mary's statue is now where people think Florence Nightingale's statue should be.
I got you.
Mary's statue that's there. And that was unveiled in 2016 by Baroness Floella Benjamin.
Okay.
Now, Floella Benjamin, that's the name, because when I came to England in the 1960s, she was one of the first Black people I ever saw on TV, because she was a young woman and she got herself a job with the BBC, and she used to do all the children's programs, which I used to watch as a child.
Yeah, sure.
She's grown up now with everybody knows her, because all the kids used to watch the program.
Yes.
And so she unveiled the statue of Mary Seacole, and so she's become a baroness, which means she's going up again in the world. So, you get Black people get put into the lords quite easily. You become a lord or a lady. You get
that's just a title. That's a title.
It is, but it gives you a lot of clout.
Okay.
It gives you a lot of clout if you've got that title.
Oh,
Yeah.
give us another one of the something that you see that you show somebody's house or whatever
Okay.
on
Um,
the tour.
let's go. One of the tours that I do is around an area which I was actually brought up in, which is Islington. Do you remember I said to you that I had
Yeah,
Hackney and
right,
Islington
right,
right next to each other?
right, right.
Islington, I mean, these boroughs are quite big. So, the bit I lived in, just further up the road, sort of like probably a couple of miles away, that's one of the tours that I do now. And in order to get the tour, I had to. I actually did a course at university to become a tour guide, and part of my tour training took place in Islington, which is where I was brought up. So I thought, well, that's great because I was brought up in the area. I'll know a lot about the area. Well, surprise, surprise, you don't.
Right, sure.
You know, you live in an area, you think you know everything, you don't. So then I started to put together my tour. And one of the things that I came across was this street with a just an ordinary looking house. And on it had a green plaque. And I thought, what does that say up there? And I read it and it said, this used to be the headquarters of the African National Congress. And I thought, what? In Islington? The African National Congress, the ANC from South Africa.
Oh, really? I see what you're saying.
Yeah, in Islington. I was like, wow, I did not know that. And so effectively, I started looking into the details of how, why, how did I not know this?
Yeah,
Whatever. Yeah, and it turns out that this was after Nelson Mandela was imprisoned for all those years. They sent into exile Oliver Tambo, who was kind of like his right hand man. And Oliver came to England with his wife, and they came to a part of London quite close to where I live called Muswell Hill. And that's where him and his family settled down and lived there because they weren't allowed to live in South Africa anymore. And
oh,
yeah, and in that time they set up a headquarters of the African National Congress in London, and it was in this part of Islington. Looked like an ordinary house, and that's where they worked out from. They had all the people who could escape from South Africa used to come to the African National Congress headquarters, and people would plot and plan what they were going to do in South Africa against the apartheid.
oh, I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they would go to this house, and that's where they would, their meetings would take place.
yeah,
Now,
sure.
that's all well and good, but the fact of the matter is, of course, you've got the South African police who follow you, who intimidate you, who listen in on everything you do. And one day in 1982, or was it 84? Again, dates.
Yeah,
They were going to have a big demonstration, a big march, and they had lots of big names, other MPs, members of parliament, who were going to be speaking at this, march. And so they had all the banners and everything in this house, and they were collecting them. And they were, that house was used basically to sort of get everything ready.
yes.
And on the morning of the march, very early in the morning, the house got blown up.
Wow.
It was like, what? This house was blown. It got blown up. So now, as it was, nobody knew who'd done it. Police came, helicopters, they sent in dogs in case there were more bombs, but the place was blown up. And it was completely out of the blue. It shattered all the windows in
Sure,
the
sure,
area.
sure, sure.
Everybody was like, what's going on? What's going on? There was a guy actually who'd got in there quite early who got injured. And he luckily was just injured, not killed. So years later, when Nelson Mandela comes out of prison, he sets up the Truth and Reconciliation Committee.
Right,
Yeah, which is what he did in South Africa, which is
right,
where if you've done anything bad, come forward, say what it is, and we'll forgive you.
right, right.
That's exactly what he did, So come the time now to find out who had done this bombing, 9 South African policemen came forward and said it was them.
Wow.
And they had set the bomb. And, well, of course, as you can imagine, nothing happened to them.
Yeah, sure. Let me
Between
ask
the
you this now. In your tours, you have different options that people can take. A walking
yeah,
tour that shows you some statues.
yeah, they're
Give
all
us the options of tours that you offer.
right. They're all walking tours. I don't do
Okay.
anything but walking tours. So
Yes,
wherever you're
yes,
going to go, you're going to walk.
yes.
But we have the Black Statues of Westminster, and
Okay,
that's where you see the Mary Seacole, you see Nelson Mandela statue, you
okay.
see people don't realize that the massive church that is huge in London, it's called Westminster Abbey. Have you heard of
Yes,
it?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
got black people all over it, you know, but people don't
Mm,
realize that,
yeah.
including Martin Luther King. And we have places around London where the emancipation of slavery is commemorated. Most people don't realize that these things
Uh,
are, they just look like normal things. So I take people to see those.
yes.
There's a plaque in London that says, "Here once stood a building that was to help commemorate the emancipation of slavery." You
Yes.
can't even see that plaque, you know.
Okay, I got
I
you.
know where it is. I know where it is.
Right,
But
right, right,
yeah, basically, people are like, I never seen that. And I'm like, I
right,
know.
right.
And I'll take them to the place. So you've got all that going on the black statues. And then you've got the City of London, which is a slightly different part of London. It's the black statues is in what we call central London.
Right,
Then you've City of London, which is where all the money is. It's like a Wall Street area.
right, right,
Yeah. So it's got a lot of money in that area.
right, right.
And where do you think the money came from?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
where do you
I don't know.
think? What are we talking about?
Africa. Oh,
Yeah,
slavery, slavery.
yeah, exactly. Who do you think the proponents of slavery were? They were the British.
Yes, right. That's
Yeah,
right.
so that's where they made their money. So the money, what did they do with it? They built massive institutions. They've built massive buildings that look after the country. And I say look after, but tell us what to do. And so this is where you show people the Bank of England, the Royal Exchange, the Lord's, the Mansion House. You've got the Jamaica Coffee House where people used to sell slaves that were in the Caribbean. So they would have a meeting in this coffee house and chit chat. Oh, well, I've got a slave that's for sale in Trinidad. I can bring him over to Jamaica if you want. How much would you give him for? You give me
Oh,
for him?
I see what you're saying.
They were
Yeah,
trading in this
yeah,
building.
yes.
And this building also, if you were a runaway slave, they would have notes up saying runaway, wanted, have you seen this person? That sort of thing. And they would describe
Oh,
as,
yeah,
person.
yeah.
And then we go to a commemoration. We talk about the church's involvement in slavery,
Oh,
in the city, because
yeah.
people don't realize that the church was involved. A lot of people are very religious,
Yeah,
and
sure, sure,
you know,
sure,
they
sure.
believe that the church is forgiving and all this, and they never were. They've
Yeah,
always
right, right,
been their
right,
deeds.
right, right,
And black people had to open their own churches if they wanted to
right.
go to church. So we talk about things like that on,
Yes,
on that tour. Then we have other tours. I have
yes.
a tour around Hyde Park where we look at what black people were doing during the wars. Most,
Okay.
most people don't realize that black in the Caribbean, because it was a lot of it was owned by the British, or I say owned because they did actually own the islands.
Yes.
Um, what happens is when there's a war on in England, they go to the Caribbean and say to them, "Oh, we need your help because your mother country's been bombed, or your mother country needs soldiers," and
Sure.
these people would volunteer their services. Yeah,
I got you.
they're not getting paid; they're
Yeah.
volunteering their services so that they can come and die for their country.
I see. I
The
see.
country that probably hates them, really,
Yeah,
but
sure,
needs
sure,
services.
sure, sure.
So we look at all the countries, all the wars that have taken place, and all the black people that have died or who have been heroic. We look at places like Australia, where there are many black people that have been killed
Uh,
by the white community. We look at New Zealand. the Maoris, were killed.
Yes.
But there are Black people all over the world. They're not just in England and America.
Sure. That's
They are
right.
all over the world.
Sure.
So, we mustn't forget that these people have played their part in history as well.
I love it. Let me ask you this as we kind of come to a close. Is there something that you discovered that no one that knew and you know what I mean when I asked you this, something that
I wish there
you
was,
kind of
but I
found
don't
out
think
on your
so.
own and said no one really, I mean somebody might have knew it, but it was you brought it to the forefront?
Not that I can think of. I'd love to say I did, but I can't think of anything that I found out that nobody else knew anything about.
Okay, I got you. Have you written a book?
Yes, I've written a book.
Oh, come on, we plug on this show. Come on, this is the plugging show.
This is my book. It's called Blackpeople, History, Art, and Culture in over 120 places. It's written with my friend Jodie Burton. And the book itself, sorry, this is my tatty version.
Sure.
I keep all my notes. We have maps inside. It's split up into north, west, south, and east of London.
I love
and then,
it.
as you see, it's got little pink blobs. And then when you turn the page, it tells you what the pink blobs are.
Okay.
Yeah, here.
Okay.
Following pages, you can actually go and find them all and find out about what they are.
Okay.
We've got things. We have things like this beautiful African woman with dreadlocks, or locks as they're known nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah, she's naked on top. She's guarding Prince Albert, the Queen Victoria's husband. She's guarding him. She's sitting around him, representing Africa.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Can your book, is it on Amazon even here in America? Do you know?
Yep, you can get it on Amazon. I've also released a map of London, a Black history map of London.
Okay, I love it.
Now, that's the map side. If you want to know what the blobs are, you turn it over, and there you have pictures of, there's the Mary Seacole with the round disc behind her in the middle.
I see it. I see it.
At the above her are all the Westminster Abbey Black people, including Martin Luther King.
I love it.
Yeah. And so you've got various people and various Black history things.
I love it.
Are all over London.
Okay.
And this is also available on my website. They're both available on my website or on Amazon.
Yeah, what's your website?
www.avrilswalksandtalks. Avrils, don't forget the S, because a lot of people forget the S. Avrils Walks and Talks, and the and is AND.
Okay. We're going to put all this in the description and blast out. You didn't think your life was going to go this way. It has really come full circle.
Well, remember I told you I started with nothing.
Yes.
I left with nothing. I'm now a member of a Westminster University. I've got my own business.
Yes.
I've written a book. I've done, but I never thought when I left school at 18 that by 64 I'd be doing this.
Beautiful. It found you.
Yeah.
It found you. Have you received awards or something? I mean, the people know of you.
Oh yeah, a lot of people know of me.
Yeah, they know you. You're the number one tour in London, England, and all that kind of stuff. We got to take your tour when we get there.
Yeah, I get a lot of Americans. And in fact, what I've done just recently, I've now put in place a deal with any Americans who come over here. They can go to, if they're going to France, I have a contact in France and she will take them on a tour.
All right.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, like I say, I'm coming. I'm taking the tours. We're gonna work something out. I definitely want to get there. And is there a model that you live by? Is there something that guides your life? Religious or otherwise?
I'm not religious. I just believe that you can do what you want to do and be anything that you want to be. And that's how I live my life. Be whatever you want to be. Take a chance. I mean, I started this business at age 57. Most people would not go into business, start a new business at 57. And I basically, I give myself 10 years in this business, you know, mostly due to health issues. But if I can get more than 10 years out of it, I'm very happy. You know,
because you exercise a lot with all that walking too.
I do exercise a lot with all that. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and I'm not going to end on this note. Have you ever had a white person say something derogatory towards your tour? I didn't believe that. I hate, whatever. And then you won them over.
No, all the white people who come on my tours, I have majority Black people on my tours.
Yeah.
But the white ones who come, they've come to learn, and their minds are always blown.
I can't imagine.
They're like, wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Well, hey, I thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. And another question just came up. You can do your tour year round too, because it doesn't get so cold there that you can't do it, right?
It does.
Oh, it does. Okay.
I do my tours all the year round, but Black people do not go out in the cold. Okay. They don't like the cold. So what I tend to find is this is my period for the Americans. I'm doing from the beginning of January, I've done something like 8 Americans already. Okay. And I've got another 8 booked up until the end of February. So
and what's the weather there now?
It's not bad today. It's about 9 degrees. But we did have minus a few weeks, and it was snowing, and it was horrible. It was absolutely freezing, and you would not do a walk in those sort of weathers.
Yeah, sure.
Generally, when it's just like this, I love going out. Going out and
I love it. Thank you so very much again for coming on. We're gonna put the website. We're gonna talk about the book all in the description. We're gonna blast as much as we possibly can on the show.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
We jamming here, my friends. We got a lady who is the #1 tour guide of Black history out of that country. The #1, everybody. So it said. And you heard the story. Everybody, get her book on Amazon. You want to learn more, follow her. When you go, use her service. And everybody, go, there you go. There's the book. Black London, everybody. Everybody get my book too, please. Go to my website, businessintheblack.net. And to you, my sister, I say this, and I mean this with all sincerity. I really do. I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Them people over there love what you're doing.
They do.
You're an icon out of that part. It has happened for you, and you know what happened? Probably God ordained you for this. And you got the personality, you got the smile, you got the warmth that brings it through. That I can feel.
Much. Yeah, thank you. I love it. It was great.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.